Hi, welcome to Catherine's Corner. Today's actually my birthday, and I just feel like reflecting and being grateful for how far I've come, really. I am a different person today than I was maybe even 10 years ago. I had kind of a really difficult time with my own mental health, and that's really why I wanted to help other people. I guess I had challenges throughout my childhood with my dad being very ill with cancer for 10 years and losing him when I was 20. And some other stuff happened, but there was trauma, and I went on a bit of a roller coaster ride with my mental health. And I actually got diagnosed with bipolar in my 20s. And this is something I'm happy to share with people because it's kind of really the past now. I really have recovered. And that's something that psychiatrists would say back then, this is lifelong and you will have this for the rest of your life. But there was a different story for me. And I want to give you hope that actually depression is something that can be overcome. Even things like bipolar, that's not necessarily a life sentence because I've been there, I've been through it, and I speak from experience. So, yeah, I think for me, I'd kind of rejected myself in childhood. I'd been really down on myself. And yeah, I was different. I had undiagnosed dyspraxia. I didn't know that. There was some bullying. I did have rejection from others around me at times. But also, I just had a really hard time growing up with my dad's illness, and that was really stressful for my whole family. So there was no wonder that something kind of switched and I went on some little bit of a mood swing journey. And now looking back, that feels completely understandable. But also, it wasn't the end of my story. And there's so many things that did help me through that. Yes, I had medication, I had sort of NHS support, and that kind of maybe kept me stable because I was really, really low sometimes. I reached the bottom of the pit and was, suicidal, really. Um, but coming out of that, I think learning that actually I needed to let go of some things that I was holding on to. And I've talked about resentment and forgiveness in one of my other videos. That was really a big part of it. Forgiving myself, forgiving even God for letting things happen, forgiving other people who I'd kind of built up resentment towards in my life, and actually just learning to accept and love myself. Learning about my dyspraxia was a big part of that as well because I finally was able to reach an understanding of myself that kind of made sense of a lot of things that I had really struggled to accept. But the real turning point for me was coming back to my faith because learning that actually you know, Jesus was there and loved me unconditionally, and I was created to be different, as I've talked about in one of my other videos. And I really needed to accept who I am and how I am to be happy, essentially, or to find that peace and that joy. My middle name is actually Joy, but for years my life did not reflect that. I was pretty depressed, actually, or I might go on these kind of manic episodes in between, but they were kind of a reaction to the depression. So it was unbalanced, and actually, I no longer associate with that diagnosis. I feel like that was a result of trauma rather than some kind of lifelong thing that I had to accept. What I really had to accept was myself, because otherwise I would still be living in kind of self rejection and depression. And that is not a nice place to be. I don't know if you've ever read the story of the black dog, but I really did have this black dog kind of following me. And some of that I know was partly in my control because I did indulge some negative thoughts. And I kind of went into those spirals a lot of the time. There was a lot of self pity going on. And since then, since recovering or coming out of that, I do need to take hold of my thoughts and I need to meditate on the good things to avoid kind of slipping down some of those rabbit holes